On Wednesday, we are going to talk quite a bit about pre-registration. A couple of you have asked me a few questions about pre-registration for spring 2021. And so we will talk about that on Wednesday during class. Also on Wednesday during class, we'll talk about the Pre-Vet Med Scholars Honors Program in a little bit more detail. You guys will have a chance to ask some different questions. Mr. Perry will talk about it briefly today, but we'll go into more detail with regards to it on Wednesday during the lecture period. That and again, pre-registration. Okay, so without further ado, I present to you all our presenter for today, Mr. James Perry. Many of you, if you've been to one of the pre-vet club meetings, particularly one of the earlier ones, you probably had the opportunity to meet Mr. Perry. And today, for those of you who haven't, you'll get a chance to meet him a little bit more. Please make certain that you're asking questions. He serves as the Director of Admissions for the TU College of Veterinary Medicine. He oversees the recruiter who's over there in that position. He also has ties to the summer enrichment program that you guys will be eligible for after your sophomore year. And so if you have any questions, make certain that you're asking him. You are lucky because you are here with a director and a recruiter in regards to a veterinary school. And so you have full access. He is there. You can meet with him one-on-one. Don't harass him unnecessarily, but he's available for real conversations and questions. And especially as you start building your way to the admissions process. So you have a person who will look over your materials before they are to be submitted so that he can give you feedback and make certain that you are on the right track. And so he's happy to do that. Without further ado, Mr. Perry. It's a fancy mask. Spider-Man.
Good morning, everybody. Good. Okay. Good morning. It's too early, huh? You're dragging like me, huh? I can barely speak. Well, I'm glad to be here and allow. Oh, good morning. Dr. Bolden-Tiller has allowed me this opportunity to speak to you today. Some of you I've already met and spoke with. The opportunity that we both have is really trying to get to know each other. It's very important to network, to understand what you need to do, to be able to have a working knowledge of the admissions process, because it's not as easy as you think just to kind of go through undergrad and apply. It's very competitive. And being that it's competitive, I give you an example. You know, there's over 8,000 successful applications every year. Over 8,000 successful applications every year. And there's only 30 vet schools in the country. I think they open one other vet school up, maybe in New York somewhere, but right now it's 30. So that means with an average of 100 students per vet school, which we only have 65 allotted seats, but it's an average of 100 per vet school. There's only 30,000 that will get admitted every year. So that means 5,000 plus students lose that opportunity or doesn't get that opportunity to get into vet school of their choice. So with that, it's advantageous of you to understand everything you need to know about how to obtain admissions. And so you can be able to have that vision as you're working through undergrad and be able to work hard, be diligent, and do everything that you need to do while you're in undergrad. Beyond balling and parlaying, beyond going to the parties and COVID parties and whatever else they do today, I guarantee you need to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, because you can't get to the end of your senior year and say, you know what, I'm gonna get serious real quick. It doesn't work that way. And I'll explain more as I go along. So I have a PowerPoint with some information about the prerequisites, about the process, and then also briefly about the Pre-Veterinary Medical Scholars Program. Prerequisites, things that you need before you apply. You need to make sure that you have a minimum of 100 semester hours. We don't do quarter hours here, but if it was quarter hours, it'd be 150 quarter college level credit hours. The specific prerequisite courses are required. So that's a certain amount of coursework, certain courses that you need to take, and we'll reference that, and I'll give you an overview of that on slide 5. You have to have a minimum cumulative and science grade point average on a 4-point scale. The minimum cumulative GPA is a 3.0. The minimum science GPA is a 2.8 because you have to have the cumulative, but then we'll separate your science courses because why? Vet school is what? All science. It's heavily inundated with science courses. So we need to look at how well you do in sciences in your undergrad. It's recommended that you have a GPA above a 3.0 to be competitive. And the reason why we say competitive is because if 3.0 is minimum and the 2.8 science GPA is minimum, and I just told you that it's over 8,000 successful applications, you want to be able to make sure that you're part of that 3,000 that get admitted. You want to exceed the minimum. Grades of less than C are not acceptable, especially in your science courses. I'll tell you right now, some science courses that stick out to us as indicators. It's not on here, but biochemistry and organic chemistry. And I mean, anatomy used to be there too, but also anatomy as well, especially coming from TU and you and Dr. B's anatomy class, you better do well because I always call Dr. Bolden-Tiller and we discuss about some of her coursework and who did well and who do you think will be successful in matriculating. Those courses, you need to make sure organic chemistry, biochemistry, anatomy, that you're succeeding in there. If you don't succeed, you want to make sure that you repeat that course quickly. You don't want to, flunk it or have a D. A D is not flunking. You can pass with a D in undergrad, but it's just not acceptable in vet school as a prerequisite. We don't count Ds. And technically, on a technical basis, if you have 2 Ds, you can automatically be denied in your prerequisites, in your science courses. Thank you, Dewan. So with that, you want to make sure that you have more than what you need. You want to exceed the minimum criteria. Okay, the reason why you want to exceed the minimum criteria, the average cumulative GPA of applicants that get invited for interviews have a cumulative of a 3.398. The average science GPA of students that obtain an interview or get invited for an interview is a 3.285. So that's where you want to be competitive. This is competitive. The average GRE for applicants that receive an interview is 295. We don't have a minimum GRE score. And even right now, we're contemplating, we're discussing the merit of GRE to see if it's a true indicator because some vet schools are dropping GREs. That don't mean we're going to drop it, but we are considering it. But if you take it, this is kind of where you want to be at. You definitely don't want to drop under a 280. We don't have a minimum, but to be competitive, you want to drop under 280. Now, every year, we have, I try my best to emphasize how important it is to have these minimum criteria, because every year we have applicants that will still apply and they don't have that, meet that minimum criteria. That is a very slippery slope, because I would love to admit everybody, especially here at Tuskegee University, because this is kind of like a feeder program for us. I would love to, but because we have a governing body in the AAVMC, because we joined them, we joined the VMCAS application portal system around 5 years ago, then now we have to hold up that our end with saying, hey, if we have a minimum criteria, the students must have this minimum criteria to be able to apply and receive interviews, or we'll get dinged. So it's almost nothing I can do if you don't meet that minimum criteria. The only thing I can do after that is give you suggestions on what you need to do to improve your application strength. But even with that, remember, you go right back into the applicant pool, and students that didn't get admitted the year before, a lot of them reapply. So it gets harder and harder. So I really want you to, if you really want to become a veterinarian and you want to apply for a vet school, then you really want to make sure that this is the opportunity and this is the day that you take to say, what do I need to do to refocus, to make sure that I have a plan in place, a plan of action to correct any mistakes I've had in my coursework or my GPA, and then see what you need to do to go forward from there. Applicants, so minimum course requirements for admissions, there are 67 semester hours of specific prerequisite courses in order to be eligible for admissions. The most common majors are animal science, biology, and pre-med. But you do not have to major in those programs to apply to vet school. You can major in any major you like to, as long as you meet the prerequisites. And like I said, we'll look at the prerequisites on the next slide. All science courses in these categories must have been completed within 6 calendar years of the time of admissions, or they become expired. And if they're expired, it doesn't matter how well you do in them, because you still have to retake them in order to apply for admissions. So you don't, now there's a catch to that. Now, if you are going ahead and doing more coursework or graduate coursework, and your undergraduate science courses expire, we'll consider still using those because you're still in an academic program. So we'll still consider using them. But 6 calendar years, if it's 6 years, that means your science courses expire. Here are the prerequisites. Coursework prerequisites. English or written composition, you have to have 6 credit hours. Humanities and social science, which examples are history, economics, psychology, and sociology courses like that, you have to have 6 credit hours. Liberal arts, you have to have 6 credit hours, which can include arts, any language, music, or any other liberal arts courses. Medical terminology, you need 1 credit hour of medical terminology. You need 9 credit hours of advanced biology courses, and they are 300 level and above. That's considered advanced biology. Now, if they're courses like anatomy, biology, immunology, microbiology, physiology, zoology, and it's not 300 level, we will still count them as advanced biology courses. You need 4 credit hours of biochemistry with lab. That means that's 3 credit hours course and 1 credit hour lab. So we have a lot of students that take biochemistry, but they won't take the lab. You need the lab. If you're already taking it and you didn't take the lab or the lab is not offered, then you can take organic chemistry 2 lab, and we can use that as a substitute for biochemistry lab. Because organic chemistry 2 is not a prerequisite, only organic chemistry 1 is the prerequisite. So we can use that organic chemistry 2. We also need 4 credit hours of chemistry with a lab, 4 credit hours of organic chemistry with a lab, 8 credit hours of physics 1 and physics 2. They both have labs with them. And the other thing with the lab, because we're in this COVID environment, you have some students that are taking courses online. Technically, we don't use, or we won't allow students to use an online lab. But during the pandemic, we've relaxed our criteria where if you have to take it online, they will accept that as to satisfy your prerequisite. You need 8 credit hours of electives. These are science electives. And I have to remember, we have to update that because a lot of students do get confused because electives seem like that's just free courses. These are 8 credit hours of science electives. Anything besides the chemistry, the organic chemistry, the advanced biology, different courses, any other science courses we can use for the 8 credit hours electives to fulfill that. That could be genetics, marine biology, any advanced biology, or any science courses. And then you need a 3 credit hour introduction to animal science. Physical education is not required if you are obtaining a bachelor's degree. But if you're not obtaining a bachelor's degree and you want to apply for vet school, you need 2 credit hours of physical education because you do not need a bachelor's degree to apply for vet school. You just need to fulfill the prerequisites. GRE, we just mentioned this, but it's recommended that you have at least a 285 with a minimum analytical score of 3.5, but this is recommended. Once again, like I said, from before to be competitive. Now, official scores must be received when you're applying by October 5th, each cycle, to our office. Now, VMCAS, this is different because VMCAS, you have to, the deadline for VMCAS application is September 15th. September 15th, but we want a physical copy in our office no later than, really October 1st. I'm gonna correct that as well. October 1st. To put in your hard copy file. Hard copy file, we want a physical copy because the only reason I say that because VMCAS, they verify your transcripts, they don't verify your GREs. You can just put in your GRE scores there, but we need the physical copy in our office. Official transcripts are required to be submitted to VMCAS before September 15th deadline. And you can visit their website, the AAVMC's website, for more information about that. And the thing about that is something else I need to add to this is the transcript that you require or that you send to VMCAS, you need to do it no later than 2 weeks before the deadline. Because September 15th is the deadline. The problem students have is when they send the transcripts there and they try to get it in by the 15th, sometimes VMCAS don't receive it. Therefore, that would make your application unverified. If you're unverified, we cannot review you for admissions. And we have no jurisdiction over VMCAS. That's a separate entity. They just do all the verification, they collect all the information, and we can download it and use that information. But if you're not verified through VMCAS, we cannot review you for possible admissions. That's a major problem. And the sad thing is this, VMCAS deadline September 15th. The application opens up in the middle of May. So you have part of the spring and all of the summer to get an application in. And do you know, every year we have students that don't meet the deadline. And then they come and they call me and they ask me, you know, some of them are just heartbroken. They don't know why they couldn't get their stuff in. And since I dealt with it for a while, I'm very sympathetic. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you had May, June, July, August. As a matter of fact, now VMCAS has even done something to help students. They've opened it up in January, partially, just so you can build your student profile. When you build your profile, then in May, when they fully open it, then you can start getting your transcripts sent to them. So really, there's no excuse to miss the deadline. I don't know. I never filled out the application. So I don't know. Is there any excuse to miss the deadline? Taylor, Darrell, Dwan? There's no excuse. It's procrastination. I even counseled one student back in August. I said, hey, hurry up and get it in. Student did not get they got a copy of their transcripts and they mailed it in themselves 2 weeks after the deadline. So it's not much I can do. It renders me powerless. Now, another prerequisite you must have are the clinical hours, the veterinary experience. You all see that? It's hard to kind of get everything. Is it legible to you? Mm-hmm. I'll still read it off. So look, you need a minimum of 200 clinical hours. 200 of clinical hours. And I will explain what that is and between clinical hours versus animal experience. So with the clinical contact hours, is working with a licensed veterinarian in a clinical setting, which includes veterinary practice, veterinary or biomedical research, public health, or areas of the profession under the supervision of a veterinarian or research scientist are highly desirable. It is best to engage in 2 or more areas of veterinary medicine or a combination of veterinary and animal experiences, like small animal, large animal. We have a small animal teaching hospital and we have a large animal teaching hospital. Everybody that goes to vet school will be working with small animal and large animal. So it's advantageous of you to get clinical experience in both areas. It'll make you more competitive. Or in some sort of research, food, animal production, exotic, aquatic, wildlife, zoological, medicine, etc., with substantial depth of experience in at least one area, 1 or 2 areas. Working very close with the vet, assisting with the diagnosis and treatment of common illnesses, performing basic physical exams and obtaining a TPR, temperature, pulse, respiratory rate, preparing animals for surgery, helping those same animals recover and post-op, developing valuable technical skills such as drawing blood, placing IV catheters, performing cytology, ear swabs, for culture, administration of medications, and on and on and on. This is clinical. This is, you have to, not pet sitting, not doing other, this is clinical, all under the supervision of a vet. So what's animal experience then? Because a lot of students have animal experience. A lot of students maybe grew up on a farm, maybe had dogs, cats, rabbits, and they have an animal experience. Animal experience, can include working with livestock, breeding or showing various species, working at a zoo, an aquarium, or pet shop, or volunteering at an animal shelter. All of this doesn't constitute as clinical, because if you're not working under a veterinarian, a licensed veterinarian doing clinical work, then it's just animal experience. This is time you spend, animal experience is time you spend with animals that is not under the direct supervision of a veterinarian. The time you spend with animals outside of a clinical setting is important because it teaches you a lot about what is normal. The animals that come into the veterinary clinic are often sick, stressed, and scared, causing them to display certain behaviors that oftentimes surprise even their owners. So that's going to be more clinical. So animal experiences, this is normal life of an animal day in, day out. And you can get a lot of animal experience, but that doesn't count towards your minimum 200 clinical hours. Only if you're under a licensed veterinarian will count as clinical hours. Now, do you want to just get the 200? No. Once again, you want to exceed the minimum criteria. We have students that will have 500 to 1,000. I've had students that had 2,000 clinical hours, because you can work. It doesn't matter if you're working to get paid. It doesn't matter if it's internship, volunteer. If it's under a licensed veterinarian, it could be counted as clinical experience. You can do no matter how you get, as long as you're working or being monitored by a licensed veterinarian assisting them, then it's fine. And you can, so when you apply for vet school, you need a recommendation and letter of reference from a veterinarian, someone that you did those hours from, so they can validate how many hours you received. If you did it under multiple veterinarians, you want to get at least a recommendation from all of those veterinarians to say that they put X amount of hours into their clinical prerequisite. Then you need two non-veterinarian recommendations. These would be from your professors, like Dr. Bolden-Tiller, or any other professors that you work with. So you need 2 academic, 1 veterinarian. That's minimum, but you can do up to 6.
How do you approve those hours or submitting questions from the chat?
How do you approve those hours?
Or how do you prove that you have those 200 hours?
Well, because the veterinarian recommendation that the vet person or the veterinarian that you have worked upon it, what they would do is they will put how many hours on there. When it's time to evaluate your file, guess what? The admissions committee, they will call the veterinarian, or they might email the veterinarian, and they'll validate it one way or another. But I mean, with integrity, hoping that veterinarians will operate under the umbrella of integrity, they will validate it by putting down the 200, the 300, 400 plus hours that you did on the recommendation form, and they're submitted. Now, we're trying to move to completely electronic. So we got rid of the requirement of a separate recommendation from veterinarian, the academic recommendations to send to our office. You just do everything through VMCAS, and VMCAS don't actually have on their recommendation where to put the hours at. So it's a place you put those hours. Now, that's something that you put on there, but if it's not right, once again, the committee will contact that veterinarian. They take their time to read every recommendation, every letter of reference, every essay, everything that's in the application portal. They take their time to read everything. And sometimes they won't return a recommendation to me for an interview unless they've actually spoke to the veterinarian. And if they can't speak to the veterinarian, they ask me to reach out to the veterinarian so we can validate those hours. So it's hard to get around that. You don't validate those hours, the veterinarian validates those hours. So I hope that answers the question. Maybe too much. Now, so as an application fee, for VMCAS, as well as a supplemental application and application fee for TUCVM. The VMCAS application is $220 and an additional $115 for each additional program. Unless they've changed that in the last couple of years. Did they change that? Okay, 20 minutes. I can finish this. In addition, you have a supplemental application. You send that directly to our office here at Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine, and that fee is $100. So there's two fees, one at VMCAS, one at Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. TUCVM requires the submission of 3 evaluations that we now have you complete solely through VMCAS, and we'll download those from VMCAS. 2 academic, 1 veterinarian. We also ask you to take a passport photo, standard size 2x2 inch frontal headshot. You can obtain those at any pharmacy, almost CVS, Walgreens. I know some Walmarts do it as well. And you mail that in with your supplemental application and your application fee. These are the addresses that you send your information to. So VMCAS, that's the address you send your transcripts to. You have it requested through the university that you attend. And if you attended multiple universities, you have to get every transcript of every institution you attended sent to VMCAS, or once again, your application will be not verified. And it could be as simple as some students that have dual enrollment courses in high school, where they took some prerequisite course, maybe a general chemistry course or anything, and they feel like they shouldn't have to send that transcript in because it goes on the institution that you're attending, and they have it on it, but they don't have the grade or the credit hours on. Like if you're at Tuskegee University, they'll give you credit for it, but they won't give you the grade or the credit hours. So you need to contact the college that you took your dual enrollment course at when you're in high school and have them send in that transcript. If they don't do it that way, then you need to have the high school to send that transcript in with those dual enrollment courses on it with the grade and the credit hour. Because once again, VMCAS will not verify your application unless all transcripts are submitted. Whether you transferred, you have to have the college you transferred from, the college you're attending right now, have to have all transcripts. Then our address is on here for the other supplemental application fee and photo. Final steps. Admission process is an on-campus interview conducted in January. And during this period, we'll be doing virtual interviews until the pandemic ceased or subside. The interview process consists of 40 to 45-minute interviews with 2 faculty members. All applicants must complete this phase before they can be recommended for admissions. Now, that is the admissions process. Are there any questions about that before I go into a short spiel about the PVM scholars? Are there any questions about the admissions process? I'm hoping that's a good sign. Now, as far as the PVM scholars, I'm not going to go to great detail about it. I just want to say this really, that how many freshmen we have in here? have any freshmen? Oh, everybody? Oh, everybody. Oh, good. This is your goal. You want to be a part of the pre-veterinary medical scholars. You have to have a minimum of 3.0, but this is designed for you to be admitted in vet school, because guess what? It gives you a minimum GPA that matches our minimum criteria. If you can stay in the PVM Scholars Program, you have a great chance. I mean, a great chance of getting admitted. That is the advantage of you being at an institution like Tuskegee University, because we have a vet school here. We would love to admit every student that comes through Tuskegee University. But being the way to do that is be a part of the PVM Scholars. Because if you do that, not only you will meet our minimum criteria, but you also will have an opportunity to participate in what they call the VCAP program, which is I have my update that too. The VCAP, well, here you go. The participate in the volunteer clinical apprenticeship program. This gets you some of those clinical hours. Get a chance to come over to our vet school, participate. You coordinate with our college. You have different functions that you have the opportunity to talk to some of our faculty, talk to our dean. You'll get very familiar. This is a program that it's like our feeder program. We nurture you to come to Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. We nurture you for that. And we have built within the PVM Scholars Program what you call an EAA, Early Assurance of Admissions. This means instead of going through that rigorous admissions process, you have opportunity to apply early without going through VMCAS and obtaining an early acceptance, and don't have to go through the rigor of all the interviews in January and waiting for an answer and trying to, sitting on pins and needles. And it's a rigorous process. It's very rigorous. But the EAA program will give you an opportunity to go through the summer, come meet with us and interview in August, get accepted before the deadline of VMCAS, and you get a chance. If you get that admittance, then guess what? You're just finishing up that school year and you're coming in that next year automatically. You don't have to go through VMCAS at all. That's a great advantage you have by being here at Tuskegee University. Now, this is your opportunity as a freshman to say, hey, you know what? That's my goal. If my end goal is to go to vet school and to become a veterinarian, then you want to take part. You want to make sure that you position yourself and give yourself every advantage possible to do that. That means work hard, be a part of the PVM Scholars. That's an elite group. You get a part, you be a part of that, then I guarantee you, Dr. Bolden-Tiller would nurture you and prepare you to become a student in the DVM program at the College of Veterinary Medicine. That is a great, I can't put enough emphasis on that. This is what you want to do, PVM Scholars. Not just Pre-Vet Club. Pre-Vet Club is good. Be a part of Pre-Vet Club, but also be a part of PVM Scholars. Don't worry. You don't need to worry about all these other organizations on campus. Don't make yourself so busy that you busy yourself out of being ready to apply for vet school. The most important program you want to be a part of is the PVM Scholars. This is my contact information at the Office of Veterinary Admissions. The Administrative Assistant, Jessica Stoneback, our Data and Records Coordinator, El Waleed Suleiman, and myself. And if you have any questions or concerns after this, I'm over there. I have an open door policy. You can come over. You can talk with me. I look forward actually to doing it. It really is very disappointing to me that some students wait to the end of their junior year, beginning of senior year to come over and talk to me. And I've had one, and I said, do you know that the deadline is September 15th? What are you doing? So this is your time. Are there any questions that you want to ask me while I'm here? It's a quiet group.
Somebody just asked, where are you located again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm located in Patterson Hall, room A108 in the student suite, first floor. Patterson Hall, first floor, student suite, room A108.
Are you taking virtual meetings during the pandemic?
I am taking virtual meetings. Matter of fact, I like virtual meetings now more than ever. Even though I like it better, I want to go back to some kind of normality. I still get too lax. I was like Bolden-Tiller, make sure I wasn't projecting any. Okay. But I appreciate it. Please don't wait till you have an ample amount of time. You're a freshman. You have time to really get over there before your junior year and stay on top of it. If you ever need anything from me, let me know. Give me a call, email me, come over, and we'll discuss. Once again, thank you for your time. Oh, yes. 8 to 4:30 normally. Yeah, but you definitely, sometimes the reason why appointments are good is because sometimes I'm running all over the place. And even if I'm in the building, I might still be upstairs or next door. And sometimes I don't know how to sit still sometimes. But definitely you can email me or call me and see what the best time is to come over, and I'll accommodate you. Okay?
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I just have a few things to emphasize from Mr. Perry's presentation. He talked about the minimums. Do understand that if you are at the minimum in all of the categories, you are not getting into vet school. Mr. Perry is giving you the politically correct version of these things. I'm giving you the real. If you're the minimum in GPA and GRE and animal experience and vet experience, you're not getting in, I promise. Okay? Not happening for you. C's and D's, while a C is the minimum, I promise you students who do not have a 3.0 in their science GPA are not getting into vet school right now. The average of people who are getting in is at like a 3.3 for their science GPA, okay? So if you're at the minimum, you're not getting in, okay? There are only 65 seats, all right? And, you know, he mentioned about the 2 Ds, that can automatically disqualify you. Understand, if you retake a class because you made a D and you then make a C, it's not going to change your GPA very much. So don't put in your mind that you can retake classes. It does not affect your GPA very much when you retake a class once you are a senior. Okay, the impact of a grade change in a course for a replacement is very minuscule. It changes it like 0.05, okay? Especially if you're going from like a C or a D, you know, just 1 grade point up. Unless you go to an A, it's not gonna have very much impact at all. So, you know, just do well the first time. That's what I can tell you. Elsewise, you're just wasting your time, okay? Also, working with the vet, Mr. Perry told you guys, but people are busy. You know, somebody asked, how do I log my hours? I've mentioned to you guys before, but you all asked, somebody asked the question, like I never said it before, so I'm gonna say it again. When you are working with a veterinarian, create yourself a log sheet. Indicate on the log sheet the date, what tasks you completed, and have someone at that facility to sign off, because the veterinarian may not always be the person you're interfacing with, but your time at the vet clinic during that work will count towards your vet clinic experience. At the end of your time there as a volunteer, if you're doing it like over Christmas break, don't wait like 500 years. In increments, meet regularly with the veterinarian and say, hey, this month or over the Christmas break, you know, thank you for allowing me to volunteer in your facility. And, you know, I completed X number of hours. One, it gives you a chance to know them to know you, and you both know that you're keeping up with how many hours you are completing. If you are working in a clinic space that has multiple veterinarians, meet with multiple veterinarians. Okay, one of them might die. Just saying, need a backup plan. People die. It's a real thing. Okay, it happens, and I've seen it happen to students, and they get to senior, they don't have anyone to write their letter, so they have to start over. We have a student like that right now. Make certain that you're having conversation with the veterinarian. Let them know, like, look, I'm not just playing with you because you're cute. I'm going to need a letter. Okay. Do you feel comfortable writing me a letter? Are you going to write me a letter? These types of things. And you want to test those waters by having them write other letters for you, building up to the one you'll need for vet school. So like for internships, scholarships, because if they won't write those, they're not going to write the other, and you need a new friend. Okay. Also, Mr. Perry mentioned about VMCAS and how they will not process your application if it's not completely complete. The cool thing about VMCAS is they will actually process it early. If you complete it early, they will give you feedback on it to say, hey, you're missing this, this is not right, but you have to actually submit it first. If you're waiting to the deadline to submit it, that's not good. And that includes all of your letters of recommendation, so on and so forth. You really should have your complete application submitted for either VMCAS or the Early Assurance of Admission program at least 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline. So that way, if there's anything that's going wrong, you will know in advance. That includes your transcripts not being there, what have you. And so you have time to fix it. Elsewise, you have to wait another year.
Well, let me add something to that. Yeah. They will still take your money though.
They will still take your money.
So don't get upset if you don't turn everything in. You hit submit and you hit pay, and then you wonder why it's not verified. They will still take your money. So be careful of that.
Right. Also, Mr. Perry is a wonderful person, and he is a nurturer. Dr. Bolden-Tiller is not a nurturer. I'm not a nurturer. I heard you say that, Ms. Perry. I'm like, stop playing. I am not a nurturer. I'm a preparer. I'm going to prepare you. I'm a tool giver, but I'm not a nurturer. That's different. That feels different to me. You know what I'm saying? Nurturers rub your back. I'm not a back rubber. Okay. I'm not the one you come cry to. I'm the one you come ask questions and confirm information was assessed and synthesized properly. I'm not a nurturer. I don't want you to get your feelings hurt, but you should come because I have good information. And also, can't emphasize enough vet experience versus animal experience. A lot of students get that confused. Again, for those of you who are right now doing service learning projects and you have chosen the cattle facility and you're doing it on Monday and Tuesday mornings, the dude that you're working with, he is a licensed veterinarian. So those hours do count because he's doing Therio stuff, okay? But you need to know his name. You need to ask him, will he write you a letter? Will he give you something that says you've completed these hours so that you can have those things, okay? Right. And he'll be around by the time you apply to vet school because he's now doing a PhD because he likes school. Strange. So those are the things that I just really wanted to emphasize to you all with regards to this lecture. Again, we'll talk a lot more about PVM scholars next class period on Wednesday and what have you. So that's that. Some of you have emailed me about Lab 7, which was the CMRC, which is the lab animal tour. It put the wrong date in I put the wrong date in. I put 12 a.m. as opposed to 11:59 p.m. So it cut off. It is available for you to upload your tour reflections. So if you didn't get a chance to upload your reflections for lab animal, I did update that, and so it is available, okay, for you to do that. It will be available until 6 p.m. tonight, until 6 p.m. tonight. Also, I want to emphasize to you again, I'm not a nurturer, so receive my next comment. Be careful when you're uploading your documents, because if you upload your document in the wrong place, you just uploaded your document in the wrong place. I'm not going back in this system to do any changes to allow you to upload your document. So if you did not upload it properly, you know that there's only a single upload. So if you had I'm still talking, I'll be right with you. If you had 2 documents and you uploaded one, it's not gonna allow you to upload a second document. So you need to make it a single document. I mentioned this early on in the semester. I'm saying it again. Uploads are singular. So you need to make your documents combined so that you can upload them together as a single upload. Computer person, yes.
I was wondering if you uploaded the video for the lab tour as well, because
not yet. So the people who are virtual for lab, the lab animal video is not available to you yet, but it will be shortly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
Hey, Dr. Bolden-Tiller.
Yeah.
For your, you just sent the an announcement saying that you opened the Reflection 7 admission.
Lab 7.
Okay. Is that going to be back in the assignments area where we originally submit our reflections? Because it's still saying.
I'll go back and look at it. It should be open, but I'll go back and look at it. Yeah, but it's the same spot.
All righty, cool beans. Thank
you. Dr. B.
Yep.
What should virtual students do if the supervisor isn't contacting them back to confirm their hours for this service learning project?
What location?
The poultry unit.
Send them an email and copy me on the day that you do your thing. Do it like immediately though.
I did. I CC'd you on both.
Okay. And just upload that copy of that email when you upload your stuff. That'll work.
Okay.
Because it looks like we had some vagabond contact person, Kayla, and she didn't get the proper instructions, I'll say. But I'm talking with her today, so we'll fix that. Okay. All right, other questions or concerns? Okay, we only have 4 weeks to go, you people. Aren't you excited? And then you guys have 2.5 months off. That's ignorant. But I'm quite excited myself because spring apparently is not starting until like February. So you have 2.5 months to get in clinic hours, all kinds of stuff. So good times. Okay, I will see you all fake this afternoon.